Wait. How big was this?
Just $12 million.
Holy smokes, that's insane.
Yeah. She was going to divorce him over it, and now she prays for us all the time.
Nice.
They live in the beautiful house that they purchased with the money they got from the deal with Titans of CNC. First thought in my head was like, oh, should he have gone that big?
What you guys make is art. I mean, how many lives can be touched by the stuff you guys do every day? It's insane.
Somebody had a really good idea. You know the days, like how many days since an accident?
Yes.
They said we should do one of those.
Since Barry's had an accident.
How many days since we've broken a tool? I said it'd never get off zero.
Yeah.
I know. It'd never get off zero, man. All good.
When you're good at something, keep doing it.
That's right.
No, it's great. Hey,
Breaking
dude,
shit. Yo.
we're like in Texas, man.
I know, isn't it crazy?
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy.
Dude,
I've been here.
You own a house. Your wife and your daughter are like right down over there, man.
12 miles away.
It's so
Yeah,
good.
it's crazy.
Only a
It's
2-hour
crazy.
drive.
It's only been 186 every day since I've been here. But, okay.
Dude, don't
Welcome to
complain,
Texas.
man.
I was saying it would, if you look at NorCal, right? NorCal, we got hot, and it's hot during the day, but nighttime it just does not cool off. It does not cool off. That's
It's
the
all
difference.
good.
But everything else, I love.
It'll cool
Now
down.
that so
I love it.
I led him into, hey, we're in Texas. You know what I mean? Like, yay. And then this freaking guy just starts complaining.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
heat,
Like,
the heat.
dude,
Typical
Heat.
California.
we're in
Yeah,
Texas,
right,
man.
Right?
I hate not
Exactly.
paying taxes.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
know.
No, there's too many good things. Can you just go into a store and buy a gun, or do I have to still fill paperwork out?
You at the gas station where
Gas
Yeah.
station.
You don't even have to go that far. I'll sell you a
Buc-ee's.
gun right now.
But yeah,
got 3 on there right now.
He's like, come behind the heller. Like, let's go.
Yeah,
You know what I
get you
mean?
hooked up.
sneak it in.
What's crazy?
Oh.
What's crazy for me is like this guy. Like we've known each other for what?
Oh,
20-something
20
years?
plus. Yeah,
Crazy.
Easy.
So
Easy.
a lot of the stories that I've told in like the videos and stuff, he's actually in those stories. And back in the day when
Dude.
I was running Naju Precision and I was like all
Nagy.
by myself running
Dave
those
Nagy.
machines.
Yeah.
I know.
I remember coming in and you would and we first met and you had told me kind of your journey. And it started at a place called Zenola's, I think, in Sunnyvale. And I remember calling on that place.
Heck yeah.
Obviously, I never saw you there. But, then going up to Grass Valley, Colfax. And I think that had to have been 02, 03.
Yeah.
Something
I
like that.
started there like in, I think, 2001.
01, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I moved to Roseville, 01. Yeah.
Back in the day, and they had no CNC equipment. They had only manuals. They did all the
Manuals.
contract workers, so they
Yep.
had a bunch of guys just contract working. Jeff Weaver was one of those guys.
Yeah. Remember, Jeff was your guy.
He's my guy, man.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's a crazy story right
That's
there.
another one.
It was
But,
cool to get to meet him.
Yeah, he came over here.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah,
very
he
nice.
came over here. He owns a house.
Remember this?
He's the one
Oh,
in
yeah.
McKinney, right?
Yep.
McKinney.
Super good. And he's in the comments sometimes, like,
Oh, nice.
he's always like right there, like just putting crazy comments.
He was a good dude.
I know.
Very good dude. Yeah, but those, I mean, that was, I think, what was your first, you bought a VF2 to start? SS
I think it's
or
VF1.
one?
Yeah, and then
Because you kind of had to get
some VF2 SSs,
Right.
a VF3 mini mill,
mini mills.
the SL20.
Yep.
Yep. So
Turn that
yeah, I
place
just
into
built-
into a beautiful shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they went from just making everything on a manual machine and literally knew nothing about CNC. They were losing their work. They weren't making any money. And then it was like, hey, Titan. Like I walked in and they were just like, do you know CNC? Like, I was like, yep, I know CNC. So you can program. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Show me your parts. And I was looking at all the coherent parts back
Oh,
then.
yeah. Big.
Coherent lasers. And
Yep.
I was like, oh yeah, boom, boom. And they were like, oh, this takes 45 minutes. I was like, that should be like 13 minutes.
Yeah, right.
10 minutes,
right.
and stuff. And yeah, I got the job and just started like hustling. And I used to like literally, like there would be contract workers and I'd be the only CNC guy. And then I would be at the machine and then I'd be like fixturing and doing all these different things and stuff. And then Dave, the owner, would always be like, hey, don't give the sales guys your time because like we need you to just be head down working. But I'd have all my machines running. You know what I mean? And then he
He
would
had
come
time.
in.
He had
Dave
time.
wouldn't be around. I'd like invite him in.
Yep.
I'd bring him over to the machine. I'd be like, oh, check out this fixture I just made. I'm running all these parts and this and this. And I just like somebody that had knowledge of the industry where we could just talk shop. And that's what I always loved about you, man. You were always like a fan. Like you were always just
Yeah.
like so good.
I enjoy it. Right.
Yeah.
Well, you right in sales, you don't. I never wanted to be a salesman. I just wanted to be a guy that was, digging what he did every day. And what that was seeing guys like you guys. I mean, all three of y'all. I didn't know you guys, of course, come before I came here, but seeing what you've done since I've come here, it's insane. And that's what I saw in him and so many other customers. But I told this story once, right? Maybe way more than once, but I came into Titans and I was like, what is this guy doing? He had bought like maybe 2 or 3 machines at that point. It was the SS's though. I think they had like an 833, cutting feed rate at the time.
Let's go.
And you were like going like 600 before adaptive, before software, before anything, before the tools were as good as they are today. And I just was like, this is insane. Yeah.
I was like, people always
early.
like, they talk about running fast and stuff, but I made that the whole mentality.
Yep.
Time is money. Like
Time
if the
is
part
money.
is 40 minutes, let's drop it in half. If
Yep.
it's 30 minutes, let's drop it in half. And then later on, when I went out on my own, it was the
true.
same philosophy. It's
Yep.
like going to every single customer and saying, look, this is how everybody else runs. This is how we run. This is why we will save you money. And this is how I will guarantee it. And that mentality.
Completely remember all that.
I would do videos on YouTube and stuff, and people would be like, you can't do that. And I'll be like,
Baloney.
SpaceX isn't complaining. You know what I mean? Like, they're not like, hey, you're running
Correct.
too fast,
Correct.
So,
Well, like when you guys started, right? What were you running feed weight wise back in the day in material,
Back then, I wasn't running near that fast.
right?
100 or 200 inches a minute.
1 to 200.
But, as time went on, we all, that's what sets us apart in this industry is that we've always tried to get better and faster and
Yep.
use new technology, new software, all that stuff. So throughout my career, I've always gotten faster and faster, including since I came here.
Yeah,
that's
2,000 inches a minute.
that's what I like. Back in the day when we were doing the TV show, I was trying to sell Haas on that, man. It's like
Yeah.
they're selling so many machines. I was like, man, there are so many people in the grind right now, and they just don't know what they don't know.
Exactly.
Like, you got to make videos, man. And at that time, nobody believed it. You know what I mean?
No, they were like, "What do you mean?" Remember, well, people kept their trade secrets. They didn't want to leave their, let their secrets out. That was job security back in the day.
Yeah.
I think today it's become, doing demos, going into a shop and bringing maybe another customer into a Titans or, whoever I went to go call in. People were way more acceptable these days than they were 20 years ago. Way more. That was job security.
I know when we were talking about videos, and you were talking about like your step downs when, going through like full slotting and stuff.
Oh,
and you
yeah.
used to watch the videos too.
Yep. Yeah. First time I saw that video, I knew it had to be fake. And because, throughout my whole career, I was always doing 50,000 step downs if I was full slotting. And then I saw that video and I was like, there's no way that was real. It was like 3 times diameter, 45-degree ramp. I was like, no, man, that was movie magic.
So good.
But that's why
magic.
I always tell people how funny it was my second week here because I was like, Titan, what was up with that video, man? I know that couldn't have been real. And he was like, oh, you don't think that was real? Get a piece of steel and meet me at the horizontal.
Let's
I was like, yep. Converted me.
Yeah.
That
But
day.
even that, I mean, that was one of the most, we put a camera on it. That was one of the most genuine videos ever. And it was like, no, I'm not going to do it. You do it. You know what I mean? And
me
like
see
set
it.
it up there, and here's the tool, and here's the parameters, and here's this. And he hit that start button, and it was just like,
I remember the
It was
first time I was
crazy.
on that horizontal, there were a bunch of chips from that in there, and I was like, "What tool made these chips?"
These
Oh,
blue
man.
It's like, was
ones.
this some weird face mill I've never seen before? He's like, "Oh no, that was an end mill." I was like,
Boom.
"What? These chips are a 1/4 inch thick."
Oh,
I remember you
dang.
texting me after that and was like, hey, you remember how we always thought that those might be fake? Like, yeah, it's real.
That's
So, yeah.
oh yeah, because you guys, right?
Yeah, he was still at General Atomics when I
Okay.
started here for
Yeah.
Yeah. That was
few
the whole
months.
thing with these guys. Is like he came from General Atomics. He and I went out to the internet. I was just like, best 5-axis machinist, like this and this, and I got like 300 resumes, and that's why CNC Expert is so awesome, because it's like what can you actually make? So I'm like, I'm not gonna read all these resumes and stuff.
Oh,
and then I saw his, and his was actually like pretty cool because it had pictures in it.
Yeah.
Not everybody puts pictures, you know.
Never
him
seen
standing
it.
by a fire truck, him standing on different parts that he had made and stuff. And then I contacted him, and I was like, oh, General Atomics, like Reaper drones, all that stuff. So I was like, oh, he does big things. But I was like, hey, can you send me some parts? And I was like, I promise, like it'll be between me and you. Like I won't show anybody. I won't put it on camera. And like he sent me some parts. I was like, oh, this guy's legit. You know?
Well, that's it. We were talking a little bit earlier, right? I mean, that the fact that how many resumes that I talked to from owners that came in and, oh yeah, I could do this, and this. Resume looks crazy. Okay, go program me something on that machine right there. And they are like, oh, I've never run this control before.
Resumes are the worst
They're the
thing,
worst.
especially in the machining business.
Right.
And me and Jesse were both on the interview team at General Atomics. So
you saw it
for,
firsthand.
out of every 100 resumes, we find maybe 2 people that actually could do what they said.
It's crazy. Like the craziest thing is when you actually handle, like you go into an interview, this guy's got 35, 40. We did one in 40 years experience.
Oh,
I go in, I'm like, dude, I've got 15 years. Like, why am I interviewing this dude? You go in, just hand them a semi-complex part and you hand it to them, say, any machine, any process you want, just tell me how you would do it. Couldn't do it.
wow.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, what you been doing for the last 40 years? Yeah.
Yeah,
we
that's
had,
crazy.
we had a guy that had,
But that comes from the best machinist in the history of the world. You know what I mean? If you literally Google the best machinist in the world, Jesse comes up.
yeah.
Is that crazy? That's crazy.
It's even worse that was my fault.
I know.
Right.
But-
you led to that.
The only day you told the truth.
Oh man. well, so
That is great.
Barry worked here
Oh,
first.
damn it.
And then we were hiring again. And I'm like, at this time we're teaching the industry. So I'm like, best of the best.
Yeah.
Like, best of the best. And then we'll take you and make you greater.
Yeah.
But like we got to start at a high level. He said, hey, best machinist I ever worked with was this guy Jesse. And he's like a big fan. He watches your videos. And I was like, would he move to Texas? And he's like, he just might, you know. And
Good call, brother.
I know.
Good call. Did it take a lot of convincing?
No, it didn't.
Right?
No.
Get out of
I know.
Mississippi.
I had COVID when he came he drove all the way down here. I had COVID and he thought he was getting out of it. I was like, dude, we're going to sit outside.
yeah.
I'll sit outside, but like, we're going on. We're going to.
If you're the greatest,
Oh,
I'll
You
stand
know what I mean?
6 feet apart.
Yeah, I was so mad because when Barry had an interview with him, I was like, he's like, oh, talked to Titan for 2 hours last night. And I was like, dude, get out of here. He keeps FaceTiming me, showing me the lake and all this stuff. I was like, dude, get out of here. Then he's coming to an interview and I was like, dude, get a picture with him. Like,
Yeah,
at
'cause
least do that for me.
He's just like, I just want to see if he's really as big as he
Yeah.
looks on camera.
I was like, every video he goes, he's like bigger than everybody. And I'm like, I'm sick. Like, I want to see, I know how big you are. So
Barry's a big boy.
We'll use you as the average.
Yeah.
That's
but at least
funny.
we knew it wasn't like the Tom Cruise syndrome thing where you were like 5'3" and
Yeah.
just surround yourself
Yeah.
with people that are 4'2",
Exactly.
like Chris.
Looks like he's 6'5" on camera.
Super good.
Oh,
But now you're down here with your beautiful wife and baby boy and all good. And they were doing a video and he's like, oh, best machinist in the world. He jokes about it, but then the algorithm or AI or whatever like picks it out. And actually now when you Google that,
Oh, get out.
it
Yeah.
pops
it's
him
like
up.
that video.
What?
I know.
Yeah.
Dang.
So good.
Hey, that's
Man.
not bad. You should be in the dictionary.
Yeah, it's like one of those things. It's like, oh, that's a good compliment to have. It's like, no, it's not, because you know how machinists are.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's like, well, you're not better than me. So
You're right.
every time he introduces me like that, they're standing there like, yeah,
Screw that guy.
I know.
he don't know anything.
You can't do what I do.
They're thinking the same thing I thought when I first met you.
He started
Like, who's this
hitting
guy that
banjos.
can't even speak English? I know he ain't a good machinist.
Yeah. But it's I don't think it's fair too because
damn
when we started making videos, like I'd make aluminum parts and everybody would just tear me down.
Yeah.
And
It's
then I
aluminum.
was like, I can't show you all the aerospace stuff that we run. But then I started running titanium and Inconel and Monel and all these harder things, and slowly it like diminished. And then he comes over here with an aluminum pit bull. You know what I mean? Nobody says anything. You know what I mean? Nobody's like, oh, make that out of titanium.
Well, that's
or something.
you know, it's all about levels, Titan.
Yeah.
We like to teach people that are at the beginning of their career, like Jesse, and you know other people too.
Right.
You still got a lot of room to grow.
It's all good.
Exactly.
But
That's what's good about the videos, though. I had a guy, he was up in Auburn, California. Great little shop near where we were at. And he got a titanium job and never had cut titanium before. He hadn't watched many of the videos. He hadn't seen, what you were doing. And the first thing he said to me goes, first place I went to was Titans to see what tools to use, how to set this up. And I said, that is awesome right there.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, people, they got to know. Look at that thing right there.
That's actually what I did with the $12 million forging that we were talking about. It was Monel K400.
Hello.
I'd never machined it before in my life. First thing I did is I think I Googled it, but your video popped up, and I watched every Monel video you had to get a good base point.
And guess what kind of tools we ended up using?
How much Monel?
Kennametal.
No way.
How much?
Of course.
That material was a crazy price on that one, right?
Yeah, just $12 million.
$12 million just for the raw material.
Wait. How big was this?
Yeah.
It was massive.
Massive part.
Yeah.
12 million.
Yeah, it was 3 pieces.
Holy smokes, that's insane.
Yeah, took 6 months, I think, to make it. So it's like, don't scrap that.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
When I started doing like we would do the Monel parts for like these aerospace rocket companies, and first time engineers started talking to me about it. They're like, you want to do like, A286 or you want to do Monel? And then I was like just pretending like I knew what any of it was.
Yeah, right, right.
And fake it till you make it.
Then they
right.
then they put Inconel 718 and solution treat, all that, and I was like, okay. But then it's just like you knock them off. So then later on, we're doing YouTube videos, and people are like, "Oh, you're just running aluminum," and I'm like, "All right, I'm gonna
I'll show you.
We're gonna make some Monel parts. Like nobody's ever like done videos on machining Monel, and the videos didn't do good. And I was just
the
like,
early ones.
Yeah, the videos didn't do good, and I was like super disappointed. But then now where I am now, I understand because nobody knew what it was.
Right.
So you're like, oh, I'm going to machine this part out of Monel, but people are like, I'd rather watch aluminum or steel or titanium,
right?
Because that was like more popular.
It's
right? Nobody, normal machinists just weren't running that kind of stuff.
No.
But
maybe
now,
up in Seattle, you had your Boeing stuff, but not where we were at, or not, again, a lot of aluminum out there.
Yeah,
a lot of aluminum.
Yeah. You were talking about Auburn, California, and like I think that's like a cool thing that I've told these guys is that, dude, this guy is one of the reasons I'm even here. I started my shop up there in Auburn in the Grass Valley area and stuff. And when I was working at AG Precision, he would come over all the time. We'd talk. He'd always go and like, you'd go tell everybody about it, go talk to Bill Selway and all that and stuff. And then, one day I just was like, look, I'm going to go out on my own. I'm going to like quote 4 machines.
4 machines. He came to me with 4, not just one. I need one to stop. No, it was 4.
4 right off the bat.
4.
Yeah. I think it's
but it made sense. One, what are you going to do with one?
Right.
Really.
We had a plan in place. I think it's a good lesson for like anybody that when you go through hard times in life, there's like a lot of times it's exactly what you had to go through to be qualified to do something great to her. So like every time you go through something, you should be thinking about how, like, okay, I'm going through this valley right now, but like, why am I here? And like, what can we achieve here? And like what's the path and stuff. So I've never like really talked to you guys about it. I might've mentioned it before, but like I had a contract with this guy, Dave, and for 4 years, man. And it was like, I built that whole shop and everything. And at the end, his son didn't want any part of it. And he was like, hey, and there's no way, I used to be in prison. I can't have my own shop. So I was just like, man, this is like my opportunity. And he's like, Titan, after 4 years, I'm literally going to move to Texas. He's going to move to Texas, and this will be your shop. You just send me a check, and this will be your shop. So for 4 years, my wife told me to quit because he would like, I just go through all these things, man. I'd be so bummed out. But I was like, no, this is my only shot to have a company. I mean, somebody like me, like getting $50,000 for a machine.
Put that carrot out
like,
in front of you.
Yeah. So I'm like, there's times I like went to drive away and he jumps in front of the car and stuff. And like, it was just like a crazy situation. But I was like, man, this is my opportunity. One day he's going to leave and like, it'll be my shop. and stuff. And then, yeah, one day we had dinner, and he said, hey, I thought he was like sick or something. I was actually worried about him. And then he's like, hey, Titan, I know we had the contract. I know this, and you've done a phenomenal job. And like, this is like, you know, none of this would happen without you. But I found a buyer for the company, and basically went, after 4 years of telling me it was going to be my shop, he ended up like finding a buyer. And then I was trying to get raises for my guys and trying to like, you know, take care of him. And he was like jeering everything down and putting handcuffs on me to do it. And then like the very next day after he told me, he went in and gave everybody raises.
Oh,
man.
And I just was like, oh,
whatever.
yeah, this is garbage.
But you know,
man.
if it wasn't for those 4 years, there's probably a lot of stuff that you wouldn't have learned.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
there was a shop before that we know that I helped build and do different things. And it was like, I had to learn electrical,
Each
and
step.
air, and customers. I had to learn all those things and
Yep.
stuff.
Well, not only learning it, the work ethic that you learn
Yeah.
doing that,
Yeah.
you know, you're
Heck
working a lot
yeah.
harder to make it work.
Heck yeah. And right, you guys know this. I always used to say this to guys that you knew the guys that would go into a shop that had talent. You knew the guys that would probably at some point go off and do their own thing. But before they did that, I would always say, you know, you can't just stay here. You gotta float around. You gotta hit shop and shop
Yep.
and you gotta. Unfortunately, that's a little bit of a issue with our industry, but it gets you so much more expertise. You learn so much more from different shops, different people you work with, different materials you cut. And after 3, 4, 5 shops, you're well-rounded. But so, like you said, without doing any of that, without having those experiences, you wouldn't be where you are. I completely agree. Because when I met you, you were like rocking,
Oh man,
moving.
He wasn't running
I was
2,000
like-
inches a minute though.
I was like,
that was still Barry's claim.
I just love machining. If you run
fully.
slow, you're depressed. If you get after it and like you make money and like you're like making things happen, man, there's just something that happens where you love life, man. And I've just always been that guy.
Yeah.
You know, I love teaching people and all of it and stuff. But
It's the greatest
at
industry.
at that point of the Dave, like I literally called that guy.
Yeah, me.
Like I've said it in the past, but like I called that guy and I said, hey, can we meet behind Jack in the Box? Like down in Rockland?
And what was the point behind Jack in the Box? So I think I know, but you just want to be like incognito.
Well, I know that
like, you're
there was
like,
people going down the street and I was just like, I just wanted to like meet you.
I was
in
ready to take him to
private.
lunch, and it's like, no,
It's all good. I just wanted to meet you in private. I had already left. Like I'd already made the decisions and stuff, you know?
Right.
But it's like, I just wanted to like, I just had this vision to
Bring
go
it.
out on my own. And he's like, oh, so how much money do you have? And as I roll out, I want 4 machines.
right,
And then,
Right.
what did I say?
nothing.
I got
Yeah,
$1.50.
But I said, he said nothing. He goes, I ain't got anything, and I said, we'll figure it out. We'll make it happen, and we did. Yeah,
I just really looked at customers and I was trying to sell myself to customers and stuff. And that's when the whole Jeff thing happened, you know, because it's like, I'm like trying to like talk to these guys and tell them, hey, you have, you know, $30 million worth of manufacturing. You have this and this. Like if you invest in me, then I will help lower that. And everybody was like, oh, we definitely want to work with you, but we're not going to invest in you.
Right.
You know, and it was way harder, man. People like they talk
remember,
a lot, but like
Haas
to put their
denied
money
you at first, right? I mean, Haas didn't even give you credit.
It was $300,000 I was trying to get. And then Haas said no. And then
Which start up $300,000. They're like, yeah, no, we don't know this guy. We're not going to take a flyer.
He was incarcerated 5 years ago or whatever it was, you know. And it's like, yeah, but I'm hungry. you know?
Right.
I'm hungry.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, like
we had plan B.
this guy came back to me
We had
and
plan
he's
B.
like, hey, Bill wants to talk to you. And then you had some talks behind the scene, huh?
Yep. No, I did. I said, you know, it's worth taking this shot. I said, just like I'd said earlier, you know, I'd never seen anybody like this before. I hadn't seen the speed. I hadn't seen somebody calculate the numbers like he calculated. And I understood after he opened the shop what 4 machines meant. You know, how many I can run them 3 shifts at so many dollars per hour, at so many hours per day. That equals this. That's my payment. Then the rest is. He had it down. Nobody was thinking like that. I mean, I'd go into a shop and it was my customers are the best people on the planet, but back in those days, it was a struggle for guys to figure out how to get a shop going. And you know, it's a big investment, right? I mean, it ain't just the machines. Then you got to tool up the machines, and you got to get software, you got to get coolant, it's a lot of money. So he had a plan, and the plan back then was it.
You have rent.
And
Like,
rent,
you have
electrical.
a lease. So it's like, and you got electrical, you have all this. So it's like, is that made with one machine or two machines? I'm not telling other people to like go buy a bunch of machines, but it's it's the truth. It's like,
It is.
you need to have enough machines to make enough per hour, and then you need to stack it and run it. So I put the bed in the shop and did everything. But
Yeah.
before we even get there, like, I don't want to like miss the point of telling you guys, like, dude, these guys,
Yeah.
like, you can say it. I don't want to say it, but
So
it's like,
when I had that conversation with Bill, and I told him, you know, hey, let's take care of this guy. I think this guy, you know, is going to be a player in the industry. He's got what it takes. And yeah, Bill called you. He said, okay, give me his number. And so Bill called him. Bill Selway was great guy.
one of the godfather of industry,
icons.
man. Love that guy.
Love
Yeah.
him. God rest his soul.
Yeah.
Yeah, great guy. And he called you. And I think what he said,
he's like,
what's your plan?
He's like, what's your plan? I
Yeah.
said, I got a list of 25 customers. You can call each one of them. They're all going to give me work. This is the companies that I built. I'm going to start with 4 machines, 2 SSs,
Yep.
and then 2 SL10s, one with a bar feeder. And I had it systematic, and this is what we're going to do. And this is the customers. And he said, all right.
That's crazy.
I haven't done this in like 9 years or something. And I'm going to like personally guarantee your loan
Yep.
to the bank. So if you can't make the payment, that's on me.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
And he's like, where do I drop off the machines?
Isn't that crazy?
Crazy.
Crazy.
Who does that?
No.
But that's this industry.
And that's,
Yeah.
you know, the nice thing about being with a mom and pop shop, you know, Bill was it. You know, you had an issue with service, you had an issue that you needed to, you know, address. You could call the owner. You ain't doing that with a lot of people back then even. Yeah. It's fantastic.
And it's like you said, you know, as soon as you walk into a shop, you can tell the people that have talent.
Yep.
Like General Atomics, within the first few days I was there, I already knew exactly who each of the guys were.
I was going to say that earlier. It's funny because I remember that conversation. Like Barry had been there a week, and he's like, so I've been watching everybody, and let me see if I got this right. And he's just like, you're for this, this, and this. This guy does this, this guy does this. Does that sound about right? And I was like,
You had it broken down.
Pretty
broken down.
Yeah.
But it is, you know, right? I mean, you know that, you know, the guys that are going to be at that high level that want more, that are staying late and learning more. And I had a guy that was in El Dorado Hills, great guy. And it was the first time I saw adaptive high-speed machining. And he's like, I got this 5-flute high helix end mill, and I'm going to take it in this 4130 material and just rip through it. And it's like 26 minutes, you know, cycle time. And he got it down to like 11 minutes, and the owner's just grinning eye to eye. But he didn't know that if he didn't go home and learn like what was going on, what were the new techniques coming out, and that's what you do when you love what you do.
Me and Jesse laughed because we struggled for a long time back in the beginning before we had Titan, you know, teach us everything. But it's like there was so little information out there about, you know, how high can I raise my surface footage if I'm, you know, adaptive milling,
and that's how I found the channel.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I still remember the exact spot in the apartment that I was sitting in Memphis when I found the manufacturing speech video.
Nice.
Because that's exactly what I was trying to learn. Is I was like wanting to learn high speed machining and all this, and nobody I had around me had ever done it, or the closest I got is a guy said, yeah, we tried that, it didn't work, so we don't mess with it.
Right.
That's the closest I got.
Right.
So I was trying to find anything on the internet that I could find, and there, of course, at the time there was very little.
Yeah.
And I came across Titan's video, and it's like so funny because everything you said in that video is exactly what I had felt, exactly what I've been saying for years, you know, and nobody around me
Crazy.
felt the same things. Like, why do you care about this so much? It's your job. Like,
Yes.
it's break time. Quit talking to me about a 13 flute end mill. I'm like, but it's cool. Look at it.
It
You
is.
know? It's
That's
like,
the
whoa.
greatest thing.
Whoa. 2 inches a minute has worked since 1980. Why would we change it
Right.
now?
Right.
That's what I was thinking when you said 600 inches a minute way back then is like, I remember first starting out in the shop watching guys run 1018
Yeah.
at 2,000 RPMs, 20 inches a minute,
20 inches a
100 thou depth of cut.
Yep.
It's
Just
like,
Oh,
I remember walking up to the very first carbide bin, old end mill stuff that we'd throw in, and I'd picking them up, every single end mill. The first 100,000s at the bottom was just ruined. And I remember thinking, I'll never forget this because this is how ignorant I was. I picked up and I was like, why do they even put all these long, why do they grind it so far back when you only use the end? That's so stupid. Then I go, oh, finishing.
Yeah.
But that's what I
So
thought. I was like,
funny.
it only was there for finishing.
So funny. Hey, and I'm going to say, he didn't lose. There were spindles that were lost during that 600 inch per minute foray. There was some spindles lost in there. But I remember you even saying, you're like, dude, it's like $5,000 for a spindle. If I got to replace
They give you
it.
half back.
Exactly.
Like six grand. Every once in a while,
Core
you go through a
exchange.
spindle.
Yep.
But the mentality over weeks and months and years allows you to like be successful, fill up your shop with work, and make money. So I was happily like
that was nothing.
I bought the spindles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A spindle every couple years or whatever. Yeah, give me a break.
Then we jumped up to the Toyota.
Oh yeah. You
back
had that
in the
450.
day,
Yeah, that 450 horizontal. That was a beautiful machine. It was
Yeah.
actually a very nice machine.
It's cranking titanium.
Crank and tie.
One thing I want to say is though, like earlier we talked about that whole journey and of 300,000, but like the Jeff thing, I just want to touch on Jeff, man, because Jeff, like you guys met him, but think about it, like he worked for me at the shop. And I paid him, I don't know, it was $20-something an hour as the general manager at the shop at the time. And it was like, he didn't even know CNC, but I paid him because he was trustworthy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like, I would drive that guy crazy because I would just be like running like multiple machines and I'd be leaning down with all my parts all perfect and he'd be cranking handles. I'd be like, man, you're working hard, man. Like, ooh, and he'd like, but I'd always talk to him in the shop while I was running like these big fixture plates where I just had like all these parts just, runtime, man. And like, but during that, he came to like love me and I loved him. And like, he was amazed at the things that he was seeing, how like I'd set up, I have 6 machines running, you know what I mean? Because each one had an hour runtime. It's like, I don't need a bunch of guys. Like we're just running it. But the time when Bill said, hey, 300,000, like I'm going to guarantee you 4 machines, like where do I drop it off? I still didn't have money.
Right.
And that's when Jeff
Right.
came to me and he was just like, Titan, my parents both died. They left me $50,000. It's all the money I have in the world. And like I want to invest it in you. And I was just like, dude, I'm not going to take your
without
money.
that, I
know.
Come
I said no, and I kept trying, but nobody would give me an opportunity. Nobody would like help fund it. So I was like, okay, 50,000, and then I spent that like that.
Of course.
You know what I mean? And
Because
then
he wants the best.
and then it was like another $75,000, and then it was like, he took out $75,000 from his house after that. His wife was going to divorce him. And I just think it's like
That's
a cool
crazy.
thing because you guys met him over here when he came to see the shop with his wife. She was going to divorce him over it. And now she prays for us all the time.
Nice.
And
That's great.
they live in the beautiful house that they purchased with the money they got from the deal with Titans of CNC.
That
Yeah,
is
because you
crazy.
paid him back with dividends, right?
Yeah.
So
He gave me 125. We gave him 625 back.
yeah, I'd say that's a good deal.
Yeah.
That's not a bad investment.
But you think of that though. I mean, you don't brush it off like you think of. That's all this. Think of yourself. I've only got $50,000 in the bank. That's all I've got, and I'm going to give it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Another person that
That's
could literally
crazy.
take it and leave.
Right.
Could do anything.
He used to be in
You
prison.
think of that, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you think of giving that amount of money to somebody else, the amount of faith that he must have had.
Well, and again, right, probably side by side with you all day, saw the effort, saw the work, saw what you did, just kind of like what I did. I I would agree. I mean, if you're sitting in there, but it's so amazing, so generous to do that. It's crazy. That's probably the good reason why you are.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Very good.
And you know what? Guarantee he wouldn't have given that to you if he didn't see your work ethic.
Yep.
Yeah, he used to always tell me, like, you need to have your own shop, you know. And I think Keith would say the same thing, and other people would say the same thing. Like, you have to have your own shop. You know, you deserve to have your own shop. But when you have no money, you know, and that is, again, that's just a great inspiration to a lot of people. Like, you know, they'll be like, oh, if I had this and I had that, I could, like, I didn't have that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I had nothing, man. I was like, I had $1,500 child support. I was burning $5 for gas to get to work while I was managing a company. You know? Like, I was struggling, but it's like I was relentless in it, you know?
Yep.
So it's like, you can say what you want, but it wasn't always like that.
No.
We worked hard, man. And even like you look at CNC Expert now and everything we're doing with CNC Expert, you know, and it's my license plate, but it was my license plate back in 2007. And we used to talk about the magazine. Like, I literally, I would think about just outcompete. All these companies would be like, oh, Titan's going to go out of business and nobody can quote that low. And I'd be like making 40% profit on all the parts and getting like all the work I wanted.
Crushing.
And then I'd just be like, man, they just can't comprehend what they don't know.
Yeah.
And they don't talk to anybody. They're not my friends. They're thinking because I underbid them that I'm actually lowballing. And I'm like, I'm making great money. They're just running at a snail's pace the way they always did.
A minute.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then it's like, so the idea for CNC Expert, it was way back even before the economy dropped out.
Yeah, like 05, 06.
Yeah, at that time, it was like, hey, let's do a CNC Expert magazine. And all these trade magazines, they're like, people pay to be in them. And I was like, let's just do a magazine where we have crazy fixturing, crazy techniques, like G-codes, speeds, feeds, and just different types of materials. And let's literally teach the trade through this.
Right. And
so it's like a
what
machinist magazine.
And I said earlier, right? People weren't willing to give those secrets out.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, this is what's going to lift the industry. I remember those conversations wholeheartedly 20 years ago. I mean, crazy.
I always thought, like, man, how can you compete as a country if you don't have great education for your kids? Manufacturing built this country. Manufacturing built it, and people don't even know what CNC is. Like, you go to the mall and you ask, you know, 8 or 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 people won't know what machining is or anything. And
I'd say 99 out of 100. Yeah.
So ever since, like, I walked in, I'm like, I had no future. I had no option. I had no money, no education, nothing. Didn't know what it was. And then you put me in front of a machine. I'm like, it literally changed my life. So I've always had the attitude that, man, this is life changing for the right people. So, like, we got to give it back.
Yeah, you know? No, you're right. No, they
give it back.
And there's so many, right? They make, and this might be wrong to say, but, you know, they make college so important. But there's a lot of kids. I've sold so much to high schools. High school programs in California got a lot of funding for a few years that helped produce these great machine shops inside of high schools. But these kids, not everybody's wired for college. You show them a machine tool, and they have that aptitude, that mechanical nature about them, and they are going to fall in love with it. And but they got to understand it.
Yeah, I never went to college a single day in my life. I never even took a tour of a campus because I knew it wasn't for me.
I missed that.
Yeah,
Mr.
It shows.
Mr. Fourth Generation machinist. So
man.
You know?
Yep.
But it is.
Good,
there's so many kids that just oh man, I got to go to. No, you don't. There's so many. This industry is insane. And I'm not trying to say don't go to college, but I'm also saying there is so many good paths, and this can lead to such an amazing career, right? I mean,
and
I
like how you said you were talking about, like, actually you were talking the other day, and you were saying, you know, they'll look at trades and people and counselors and all that. They'll look at it like the people that can't get into college are going into trades. And yet you look at Elon Musk, and Elon Musk will be like, look, like, designing and making products, like, the design part is easy. Figuring out how to manufacture it efficiently at a low cost, that is the difficult part.
100%.
And one thing I learned from the beginning was if you can solve the right problems, you're going to make money. And that's why more and more people who design parts that are in business, they're getting into CNC machining. They're getting into manufacturing. They're figuring out how to make their own parts. And like by making your own parts, you can control your own destiny and like do something. If you're paying other people, then you're screwed.
Yep.
So
100%. And there's a lot of young kids getting into this now.
Yeah.
There was a kid out in Nevada, middle of nowhere, G2 machining. He bought him 17 years old, bought a mini mill from me, making gun parts, and just phenomenal.
And people will say, you can't do that.
Right.
That machine is so expensive.
Right.
Like they don't scream about them buying a car for that much. But they'll be like, you shouldn't buy it. You shouldn't spend that money on a machine and stuff, because they just don't understand. But that kid ends up going through it and like just building this crazy company.
Yep.
We had so many people like back in
Stone.
like 2018. Well, Stone's Stone's crazy. But I was just gonna say, like in 2018, a lot of people at IMTS, a lot of like young guys would come up and say like, hey, I started my company because of you. I got inspired, and I was like, that's awesome. Well, I got 2 machines and stuff. And now those same guys were coming up to us during the summer, last summer, and they were like, hey, I got 40 machines. You know, I got 30 employees. I got it's crazy. And they're, man, they just went after it, you know, inspired. And the Stone, I keep thinking he's like 15. He's like, what is he, 16, 17 now?
And I don't know. He might be 18 by now.
He's getting close.
Yeah. And he's like, didn't he just buy a BMW?
Yeah.
Yeah, moved
He's
into
like
his
18.
first shop.
That is great.
He what?
He's out of the garage now into his
He's got his
shop.
own shop. He's got
building.
multiple CNCs. He had his own product at 15 years old.
Crazy.
He's selling his own product.
God bless
Yeah.
him. That is
Or like when we were at IMTS, there was that guy that had his little 9-year-old with him that I took a picture with. It was like,
super good.
he programs EDMs and 5-axis mills, and it's like, he's
9.
9.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah.
Damn.
So good.
Those are the
super
best.
cool.
Those are great stories. The young kids and the garage stories. Guys that started in their garage. There was a guy down in Stockton, George Cruz at GC Machine, sold him a tool room mill and a tool room lathe in his garage. He is now, I think he's the biggest shop in Stockton, if not the local Bay Area, outside just the Bay Area. 30 machines, 30 spindles, taking care of a ton of families, and just killed it. And those garage stories are amazing because, right, they get home from work. They just worked all day, 8, 10 hours, 12 hours, come home, and they make more parts while they're at home, eating dinner with their family. Nope, switching parts out on the machine.
Grinding the work in and loving it. Like it's your machine, man.
Yeah.
And
It's
stuff.
fantastic.
I want to like say something about Stone. 15 years old, but you met his parents, man.
Mm-hmm.
His
they were great.
parents are like, they're not machinists. They're not like from this industry, and yet they're just so supportive, you know. And he's out there just working in the garage and doing his thing and stuff, and building this company. But like having the right parents and the mindset and the people around you is so important.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
So, yeah, super good. you
Well,
know?
think about that when the parents don't even know what this machine does, and then he comes in with this part, and they're like, "Wait, you made this out of what?" You know?
Yeah, you want me to buy a $25,000 machine for what?
And now I need 5,000 more to tool it. What?
Yeah.
Wait, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I know.
And
I
then
was,
he quickly started making his own money. You know what I mean? Like it started like just doing all of
That's
it.
cool.
What were you gonna say?
I'll say when I was 15 years old, I was still trying to play Nintendo and Sega Genesis. I wasn't worried about machining nothing.
Oh,
Super
football and
tech
baseball,
crazy.
Yeah.
Football
Yeah.
and baseball, that's all it was in high school.
No
and it's
doubt.
like, hey, you're graduating. What are you going to do the rest of your life? Oh, I hadn't even thought about it. You know,
Yeah,
it's like,
same
Correct.
here.
Yeah.
Correct.
I
That's
always, growing up in my dad's machine shop, I always said, I'll never be a machinist. And then when I graduated and had no skills and knew I wasn't going to college, it was like, uh-oh.
I think I'll take that path.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. It was like when I saw Stone get that car, and I was like, that
Yeah.
boy just bought a beautiful BMW. And is he 18? He's about there.
Yeah, he's roughly there.
And but the first thought in my head was like, oh, should he have gone that big? You know what I mean? Like, should he have gone that big? But at the end of the day, there are people buying their kids who don't even work crazy cars.
Crazy.
So if you actually think about it, I think it's so brilliant because at a young age, he's worked and worked and worked and put crazy time into that garage. And then he went and bought something that he loved with the money that he made on these CNC machines. And it is a crazy life lesson. And people can make a judgment or whatever, but it's like he went out there and put the work in.
That's it.
You know, to actually make that money and supply parts to his customers. You know?
And now it's paying off.
Crazy.
And think about that, right? We all know this. The people that you worked around, the people that you've known that own businesses, we're the hardest workers on the planet. I mean, we are making stuff every day. The guys are staying at the shop late. They're there on the weekends. It's what you have to do to be a successful owner of a shop if you want to succeed.
My dad's shop, you know, when me and him first moved down here to Texas, we lived in his shop for like the first 6 months to a year. We just had a hot plate, you know, we'd cook catfish or little pizza rolls and stuff on it, man, and we were happy.
Hell yeah.
So,
hell yeah.
People used to say kind of stuff like this, like, oh, I wish I owned the business so I didn't have to be up here and stuff. But the first shop I worked at, it didn't matter. Like I was running a water jet. We run 7 days a week, 12-hour shifts. And I remember the owner coming up there. You never knew. He would be giving people to 11 o'clock at night, midnight. It's like he slept 4 hours a night. He was always about that business. And since then, I was like, yeah, I don't think these people is correct. I think people that own the business can, because they were always like, why don't you go and spend that money? Go on vacation.
Right.
Go somewhere. Get out of here. And he would go somewhere, but after about 3 days, he's like, I'm ready to get back to the shop.
100%.
He's got stuff to do.
They live it and breathe it.
They do. They
That's
do.
the trade, man.
It is
Best
the
trade
trade
in the world.
And it's not, it's hard, right? We all know that it's not easy. What you guys make is art. It's out of crazy materials, but it is ultra rewarding. I mean, how many lives can be touched by the stuff you guys do every day? It's insane. I mean, nobody knows the stuff that we do. You guys do, not me. I'm just in sales. But it touches everybody every day.
Yeah.
Cars, planes, medical equipment.
This whole unit right here wouldn't be here. This table wouldn't be here. Like
crazy.
None of this. This is all machine. The rockets, the planes,
The clothes we're wearing.
Every phone. Nothing exists without CNC machining.
Crazy.
You know, and you started like talking about like the speech I did, and that one speech, and I put up a graph, and I thought that was like important because it's like when jobs started leaving and we started selling them out, you know, and you see the manufacturing jobs like dropping down. A lot of these big cities and stuff that now have like major problems.
You're saying like pre-recession or post-recession?
Yeah, like
Just things just
in
fell
the last
off a cliff.
30 years, you know, since like last 30 years and stuff. But like as you see like everything kind of dropping manufacturing wise, you see prison in the same angle. Prison population goes up like this.
What?
You know what I mean? Like it's like a crazy graph and stuff. And that's why back in the day, like I did the whole plan for the state for Chicago. You know what I mean? Like
that was terrible, man. That was such a great plan. I still have that presentation on my phone.
It's like all these alphas want to do these small things, but they don't want to share, you know? And it's like, so we just came with a school at scale. And like, I was talking to big companies, like billion-dollar companies that were willing to bring work to Chicago. But like, you need real workforce.
Correct.
Like, not 30 people, like thousands of people. So this one school that we designed and stuff, similar to what we did in San Quentin prison, like there could be like 3,000 people in there. And like the budget, I mean, literally to like build it, to do all of it for like a year and a half or something would be like $60 million. But $60 million, right? And you're not making anything off it. But the point is, that funds the whole thing,
100%.
right? And then, dude, people are not dying.
Right.
You know? Not like people say like, oh, you know, Chicago or whatever city it is, like, this is how it is. And they see it as like a reality. But it's because nobody's doing it at scale. If you actually bring a legit plan at scale and show them how you're going to build a workforce, and then show them the companies that guarantee that they'll give them the work, why shouldn't we invest in something like that? We're giving
Agreed.
money to all these other countries and putting
Yes.
money in all these other things. Give them a way to actually take care of themselves. You know, give them opportunities. You bring in the right plan into someplace like Chicago, you literally would have all the mothers just
LA.
walk in the streets, and they would be praying over those streets, because they know, like, this is the first time we've been offered a real solution to the problem.
you go.
That's
Yeah.
at scale.
And
Don't
think
get me
that-
started now,
I'm
man.
telling you,
know what I
right?
mean?
That is crazy. I don't think I ever heard about that one. That is
Dude,
Oh, man.
I'll show it to you.
Yeah,
man.
you got to see it.
Honestly,
Because it was
yeah.
like hundreds of machines, right? And it was going to train thousands of people in a
Yeah.
skilled trade and
They-
keep people out of prison, keep people out of gangs.
Yeah.
And the politicians were just like, oh, yeah, we'll use this to run on
Yeah,
it, and
to
we'll never
run.
do it.
It got all political and stuff, and they were talking to like these companies, like they're trying to get Nike and different people to come over to Chicago and to like manufacture in Chicago, but like there's no workforce.
Right.
There's no trained labor, you know? And it's like I had big companies saying like, Titan, we would literally have so much work, but we can't find companies
Yep.
big enough to actually do it. So you could literally create a school and then have work come in also. So like part of it is education, and then part of it is like you're actually making parts to help fund the whole thing.
Absolutely.
And then you just get it on this engine, man, and then you just start putting it all over the place. You know? It's
Yeah,
like the
because you're
same-
right. It's not just Chicago, right? How many
No.
guys I say that Keith, I'd buy a machine from you if I had somebody to run it.
Exactly.
Like no,
Yep.
happened
Exactly.
all the time.
Exactly.
all
crazy.
the time. I know companies that have bought several 5-axis mills, and then they just sit there because they can't find anybody that can program it or run it.
But now you have the craziest 5-axis curriculum that's made, like created by the greatest CNC machinist on the planet. You know what I mean? Like,
Do it.
So anybody can learn
Love
now.
it.
But that's the whole point. Like, if there was great education, like we wouldn't have to do it. So like, let's put out something that is truly great, make it free for everyone, and sooner or later they will like listen to us, and we'll make change across this whole country and world, and make manufacturing famous, man.
Absolutely.
Super good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Boom.
No.
So good.
Hit it. Absolutely.
Love you guys,
Yeah,
man.
I love you
Get to
too,
work
brother,
with
man.
you guys
Absolutely.
all day.
Watch out for that finger.
Awesome, man. Boom.
Yeah, very good.
All right. We're
Excellent.
out.
Be
All
good,
right.
brother.
Peace.
Yeet.